Hi there fabric jugglers, it's Babs here from MyFieryPhoenix, and today I'm going to be talking to you about whether you should block or not to block and what kind of a difference that actually makes for your knitting or indeed for your crochet. So if you're interested in blocking and how to do it and why you should do it, then please stick around and I'll walk you through the process. Right then, so what we're going to need today to actually do our blocking is some pins, and these aren't particularly special pins, they're just lots and lots of pins. We're obviously going to need the piece of knitting or crochet that we're going to be blocking, and this is my tester pattern repeat for my dragon scale cowl, so that's just making sure that my repeat was working correctly. We're going to need a pad of some sort to be able to block onto, and we're going to need some water. And that will be to soak the fabric in. Now, before I start on the actual process, I just wanted to explain why we block. Before blocking, you can have this twisty, twirly thing. It doesn't really look very much like anything, and I know this is only a very small sample, but even with large jumpers, cardigans, shawls, you get a product that is quite chunky in comparison to how it potentially could be. Now, when I first started knitting, I jumped straight in with knitting jumpers and cardigans and things like that, and I never blocked. I never blocked anything. I was young, I was a teenager, I was silly, and I didn't understand why you would block. I didn't understand what the benefit would be. So I'm going to show you a before and after today for just this little swatch, and then if you can imagine what difference this will make to every finished item that you ever make. And please, 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 if you've never blocked, just try. I mean, I know everybody out there who's watching this who's already blocked and understands the benefit is now shouting at the screen going, why would you not block? But I didn't. No one explained to me the true benefit of blocking, and I hadn't seen the transformation. It's almost magical the way this stuff changes from your before. It's as if you've ironed or pressed it, and it's gone from being something that looks like this to something that looks like this. It's larger, it's wider, it's stretched, it's flat, it's got definition. You can create the points, you can show the detailing in some of the lace effects, and you know, the blocking makes a massive difference. So I shall stop wittering and I shall get this soaked in some water and be right back. So now what I have is a wet piece of fabric, and already you will feel that it is a different texture once it's been soaked. It's a lot more pliable, and that means that we can actually stretch it out, but not just stretch it out, we need to pin it in place. So I'm going to be taking my pins, and these are just bog standard pins, but what you need is lots and lots of pins. This is only a small piece of example. However, if you were working with a large shawl or another garment, then you will need hundreds and hundreds of pins. So I will just pin this out, and I start off by finding any points that literally need to be points, any parts of the design that need to be embellished or drawn into a particular shape. I pin those in shape first. And then we can bring everything out as we want it to be. And again, where we had points at the top, I mirror those on the bottom. And again, as this stretches out, you start to see the lace effect of any stitches that you've created, and the design really starts to take shape. And as you can see, it's a much nicer looking piece already, rather than just that rolled up scruffy looking thing that we had before. So once those points are in place, you can then reposition if needed to get the actual look you want. And if you needed to, you could pin at the edges. I'll do that just to hold it down, but there's no real need. I'm not going to be getting any benefit from those And then what you do is just leave it to dry naturally. This has been soaked in water, just water. And so what you need to do, now that this is actually blocked out, it's pinned, it's on something, and this is why I like using these, is that they're nice and movable, so I can take it off the table and pop it somewhere else to dry, preferably somewhere in the sun. And then once this is dried, you'll find that there will be a completely different piece of fabric compared to that rolled up twisted piece that I showed you at the beginning. So I shall leave this to dry, and then I'll show you the results once that's happened. Here we are with our dry swatch now, and hopefully you can see that you've got the scale pattern showing quite clearly through. But basically all we need to do now is simply unpin, and as you can see, the shape will now stay. It no longer curls back up on itself in that tight sausage like roll, and you'll find that not just the layout has changed, but also the actual texture of the knitted piece has changed. Beforehand it was quite fat and chunky, and now it's actually quite thin, narrow and lacy feeling. That is, if I bring that up a little bit closer, that's actually a nice open weave. You can see the design of the scales. It now starts to drape that little bit more, and it certainly is not that tight curled up piece that you saw originally. It is almost magic when you block your knitting. It transforms the piece completely. So if I show you a couple of actual examples, here is another piece. This is the dragon scale scarf, which I've been working on. This one will be in test knit at the moment for this pattern, but it will be released to Ravelry soon. But you can see the scale pattern through here, the lacing, and it is nice and drapey, which is far nicer than as it actually knits up, which again is sort of all curled round, and now it's beautifully flat, and it has the definition of the points at the end. And if you really want to see drape, then the shawl, it's beautiful. The movement that you see in this is absolutely gorgeous, and that most definitely was not there prior to blocking. And the size increased dramatically, and again you have these delightful points that you can put in place, and this was actually a flat line once it was knit. It is the blocking that gives it the gorgeous shaping on the edges. So for those of you that question whether you need to block or not, then the answer, as far as I'm concerned, is a resounding yes. So hopefully this tutorial has helped you out. Again, this the shawl pattern will be on Ravelry soon. It's going through its testing, so if you're interested in that, have a look on Ravelry. And yes, most definitely block. The before and after is quite impressive. Even if you don't plan on doing this for everything going forward, give it a go once and see what the difference is. You'll be stunned. It is like magic happens when you block. So hopefully you like this, and please give it a thumbs up, share it around, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Bye for now.